Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of Optometry Unleashed. I'm your host, Dr. Trevor Miranda. My guest today is Dr. Jill Saxon. And if there's anyone who's seen the optometry world from every angle, it's her. Dr. Saxon started her optometry career on active duty as a lieutenant in the U.S. Navy, providing vision care to many of the nation's leaders on the front lines. She later worked as an independent optometrist before stepping into her current role as Executive Director of Professional Strategy at Bausch Lomb. Now she works with doctors to bring new solutions into the marketplace, ensuring that eye care professionals around the world have the tools and knowledge to provide the best patient care possible. Dr. Saxon is an exceptional educator, strategist, and relentless advocate for better patient care. I know we're in for a great conversation with plenty of insights. So let's dive in. Welcome to the podcast, Jill. Last time I saw you, you were like, I'm Canadian. I want to be Canadian. Do you want to be even more Canadian now?
That is a loaded question these days, I'll be honest. But yes, I still do identify as partially Canadian. So mostly because I love the way in which those from Canada approach one another, their relationships, their connection, their communication. And plus, we have a ton of fun while we're together.
And all Canadians grow up playing and watching hockey. And I know you're with the New Jersey Devils. Tell me about how you work with that hockey team.
Yeah, since they came to New Jersey in 1982, I've been a lifelong fan, needless to say. I was just a little girl at the time, but began as a season ticket holder and grew into a lifelong fan, and ultimately had the opportunity to make a connection through volunteering for the Special Olympics in the Bronx with their team Optometrist. And from then on, I've had the opportunity to do their preseason eye exams and support them throughout their optometric needs from 2001, and it's still going. They still keep me around.
I can't wait to go see a game in Jersey, a hockey game with Jill Saxon. How cool would that be?
You tell me when, and it's done. I can't wait.
That's amazing. What's one of the most memorable moments with the New Jersey Devils? I mean, they won 2 Stanley Cups, right?
Honestly, I think the connection that they have with one another that I discovered my very first time there, which was actually on 9/11, 2001. I had the opportunity to experience what their camaraderie and brotherhood actually meant. Watching Martin Brodeur and Ken Danico and Scott Stevens come together in moments of true brotherhood prior to our world changing, where they laughed and they made fun of and they engaged with one another and fought and complained and then supported and laughed all at one moment in time, or within an hour's worth of conversation, was really fascinating. You could see what was the chemistry that had developed between these men, which was wonderful. And then in an instant, when the world changed, how they also then came together to support one another and figure out how they move to the next step. So really learning about them and their brotherhood was something, to me, was the most memorable time, and it continues to this day.
And I'm sure you experienced that magic that you've taken from a hockey team and taking it to the business level. I know, when you were around teams, and I know you've been to a lot of practices and had a lot of dinner talks and met so many of my colleagues and their teams, you can tell when a team has chemistry, right? What do you say about that?
I'd say the best thing about chemistry, or when they have chemistry, is that they know how to win together and they know how to lose together. And nothing changes. Whatever the situation is that they face, they do it together and they come out on the other side even better than when they went in. That's a good team.
That's such a great point, Joe. Look, because nothing's linear, nothing always goes well, right? There's patients that are upset, there's products that are back ordered or missing, or something's gone wrong in the ordering process and the patient's upset. And I think instead of pointing fingers at each other, if we as a group apologize and try to have service recovery, that's the best way. I don't like the saying, throw me under the bus, because I'm under there first. I want to be under the bus with you and lift that bus off of everybody else. So what do you think about that?
100% agree. I think the idea of a team is that you will always support one another through the good or through the bad. And the way in which we support the other person when they're not in the room, the rest of the team when we run into a problem, and how we attack a situation that might implicate any member of the team is how you know the team has come together and will be successful. So if somebody complains to you, I've got your back. If somebody complains to me, I've got yours, and we'll address whatever needs to be addressed to fix the team as we look towards what we do better the next time. That's a team.
Yeah, I think also it's important to know that you can recognize you made a mistake and that's okay. Nobody
Sure.
goes through life or even a day without making a mistake, and just accepting that we're going to be recognize it, try to recover if it impacted other people, and just be better going forward. And that's the end of it. It isn't something to be ashamed about.
100%. Actually, a good team will not only recognize that mistake, but look for it. And look for that opportunity then to learn from it and grow from it. They'll be an even better team moving forward.
Yeah, I like Russell Wilson of now the Steelers, but formerly of the Seahawks and Broncos. He would always say, "I look forward to Truth Tuesdays." What is Truth Tuesday? Is when they look through the film from the weekend and they identify things of what went right and what went wrong. But the cool part is that's how it went, and that was the truth, and that hits home, and everybody could see it with their own eyes and experience that that's what took place.
Yeah, Trev, it's not about pointing out the mistakes, it's pointing out the opportunity. And when the whole team comes together to identify that, that's where the magic happens. Everybody comes together and says, how do we not allow that to happen again? We're going to come together and it just won't. And each time the team evolves and gets better and greater throughout the process.
I know, Jill, you recently met Kyle Coon. He's a two-time U.S. Paralympian. He was the keynote speaker at the Bausch Lomb North America Consumer Sales and Vision Care North American Sales Meeting. What was that experience like?
Honestly, Trevor, it was absolutely overwhelming. And he's not the first blind motivational speaker that I've been fortunate to meet. It's moments with him and others that can create these turning points, these impact moments in your life that cause you to think about life a little differently, that inspire you to do more than what you're doing. And you realize that whatever challenges you're facing, you faced them in the past and you've grown from them. And it's no different if you're sighted or not sighted. And Kyle, he was an interesting story. At the age of 6, he lost his vision. His parents recognized that this was going to be a challenge for him, and they wanted him to recognize the wonders of life. So he shares a story about how his parents took him to travel, and he got to see the Grand Canyon just before he had to have his enucleation. And an amazing moment for him because he lived life with the wonder of his imagination and what he could remember. And then he took those moments and embraced them. And of course he had challenges and he fell down along the way multiple times, as most people do, but he admits it. And he learned from it. And then he created these successes in life that he can look back on and inspire people to be able to do things that they never thought they could do before, simply because maybe they were held back. It's here. It wasn't here for him. It was here.
I think it's incredible, too, the talent, and the other senses that you utilize when you do lose the sense of sight. There's other things you can do, and it is incredible that those folks are more tapped into the senses that we have access to. We just don't readily use it, not to the degree that they do.
And shame on us. I mean, as optometrists, isn't that our job? Our job is to encourage those around us and inspire them to see their best, to live their best, and then to challenge themselves to do things. So what a great reminder for all of us that see patients every day to walk into your office and take every opportunity, every patient, everyone that sits in front of you and say, what am I going to do to make your life better as you walk out of my office today, and inspire you as you look back to say, I'm really glad that I had that exam. My eyes are better. I'm better for that moment.
Yeah, and just the gift of sight, the gift to be able to see. If that's taken away from you, gosh, that's pretty, traumatic. Could you do things like get a routine eye examination because you want to protect the future of your eyes?
100%. It's a mantra I live by. Being able to protect the future for us isn't just about seeing patients, but it's about inspiring our next generation of optometry to then help their patients. So being able to protect and inspire is something I really think that us as an industry, we have the opportunity to really push the limits. And it's just a fascinating time to be involved with eye care.
Tell me a little bit about Kyle's challenge coin tradition. What's that?
So the challenge coin is really interesting. It's a phenomenon that used to exist in the military where you'd have different levels of individuals within their roles within the military. And it originally, quite honestly, started at a bar or in a situation like that where you'd hand your challenge coin and you would challenge them to present theirs. And if that person in front of you didn't have their challenge coin, which they would put out and slap down on the table, they would purchase the next round of drinks for everybody. And so around that tradition became now this opportunity to challenge one another in any situation. So tell me a little bit about you. Inspire me with what you do. Challenge one another to share their stories about what they've done within their career or how they're going to continue to help others. And so typically we would have challenge coins that you keep with you all the time, so that when you're sitting in front of somebody and you're sharing your military stories, you're reflecting back on what you had done in your career with this just this positive reflection on these things that you maybe achieved that you never thought you could or imagined you would. You're sharing that. Well, I mean, why would I ever think that I was going to be meeting Kyle Coon and he might have a challenge coin? But his mutual love for the military, and he happened to have one, and overcoming the challenges that he's faced and being able to share his story of inspiration is something that he holds so dearly. And when he realized this idea of a challenge coin was something that was so meaningful to me, certainly exactly what he did was he presented his challenge coin, and I had nothing to give back to him. So I can't wait for the opportunity to see Kyle and Sir Hugh again, because both his bowl of water and his drink, they'll be on me.
That sounds awesome. What a great story. Jill, it's great to have you. And I know, we're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsors. I'm thrilled to share an exciting new resource for professionals in the eye health industry, Eye Care Collective. Eye Care Collective is redefining collaboration and growth in our industry. Whether you're a clinic owner, optician, or an eye care professional, this platform empowers you with the tools you need to streamline your operations and elevate your success. As a member, you'll enjoy the benefits of consolidated billing, access to competitive pre-negotiated discounts, and programs tailored to support the unique needs of your practice. If you're ready to amplify your impact in the world of eye care, visit www.eyecarecollective.ca and find out how Eye Care Collective can support your journey to success. You probably do a good job of capturing contact lens sales after seeing a patient. But what happens when they use up their initial supply? Yes, your patients love you, but at refill time, they're probably just taking the path of least resistance to restock their lenses, going online or to the big box stores. These missed opportunities add up to tens of thousands of dollars leaking out of your business. That's where Auto comes in. Auto allows you to be that path of least resistance. Auto is the easiest way for eye care practices to stay engaged with patients and offer them a frictionless way to order their contact lenses and dry eye products from you, rather than from your competitors. Timely refill reminders and one-click reorders offer patients an unbeatable purchasing experience. And on the back end, Auto is integrated directly with your suppliers to allow for uber-efficient order management and fulfillment, saving valuable staff time. Over 600 clinics across Canada and the U.S. are already using Auto to reclaim lost sales and simplify their workflow. Want to learn more? Check out their website at autooptics.io. That's OTTO optics.io. Sell more, do less with Auto. You're such a great leader in our industry, and you started that early. You're from a high school soccer star, and you turned into an optometrist from the naval service. So you've had quite a journey to where you are now as a professional affairs consultant with Bausch Lomb. So, quote from your husband, "You've never walked away from a challenge. In fact, you crushed the challenge in front of you and look for the next one." You're quite a killer, hey?
Small but mighty. It's one of our good sayings.
And you're playing, on the number one U.S. high school soccer team, which is pretty incredible. I love soccer. I was a soccer player in university, and my daughter's a professional soccer player right now in Europe. But tell me a little bit about that. How you changed from soccer and you switched into the Navy as an optometrist, and then in your current role at Bausch Lomb.
Well, thanks, Trev. I think that it all stems back from values and ideas and my lifestyle growing up. And if I think about what inspired me as a young child, and I might not have realized it until I was an adult, but there are things that happened much earlier on, even long before soccer, that helped me evolve to who I am today. And similar situations occur, whether it's soccer or whether it's eye care, whether it's the military, whether it's a current role, planning and hopefully shaping the future. The idea of always pushing the limits and seeing what else is out there and challenging yourself to do things that you might not have done before or certainly didn't think you can do, but to live life and to take each experience and maximize it, make the most of it with those around you, and bring everybody along for the ride. It's about what we do together rather than what we do on our own. And every single experience in my life has lived right into that. So, I mean, imagine as a young girl, I had no idea the magnitude of playing soccer every summer at UNC Chapel Hill with the women's national team. I mean, what a phenomenal experience. And it was way more than just soccer. It was about being inspired to do great things. And I think that was a major step in helping me realize the power of what life can bring.
You know, and it's infectious, Jill. You know, your energy, your passion that it's grown from others around you, but you take that with you and you give it to others.
Thank you. I think that's my ultimate goal is it's not about me. It's about what we can do together. And if I can inspire others to take that passion or to inspire them to lift them up, make them a little happier, make their day a little bit brighter, have them do something that they didn't do or didn't think they can do, and then share with them in the successes, then we've all won.
When a military recruiter showed up your school, how did you react to that? You know, were you always thinking that military would be part of your life?
Certainly not. Certainly not. And to be honest, I didn't know what a role soccer would play in my life. I didn't know what role chemistry or life would be from my undergrad. I didn't know a recruiter walking in would be that moment in time that my life transformed yet again and shifted. And that seems to, for me, to be what life's about. It's that constant shift of how do we turn the corner then and see what's new. So when that recruiter came in and suggested there was an opportunity to give back, not only certainly to pay for school, which is a great benefit, of course, for those who are either in school or have graduated and face the challenges financially of what, you know, professional school then puts on us as an opportunity to join the military, one, financially, but far more importantly, to be able to give back to my country, to my people, to doing something even bigger than optometry while practicing optometry was something I didn't, again, realize the magnitude until I got there and tried it.
And I think that's a beautiful way you said that, Jill, where you're open. It's an openness to what is in front of you. Instead of being so preoccupied with a predetermined path and sometimes not be willing or able to go off that path to another branch, another fork, which would have been really great and amazing and just be so set in your mind. I think that's why burnout happens, because people just feel forced into a certain channel, a certain direction that has been predetermined. Sounds like you've discovered the meaning of life here in terms of just being open to what's in front of you.
Well, I think that's the key, you know, and certainly for me, not every day is perfect, but if we can find something perfect in every day and be open then to the fact that things might take a circuitous pathway to get to the end point or get to the next point. There's never really an end point, is there? I suppose. But if we can be open to that, then that's where life becomes magical. And if I can inspire others to just be open. For example, I knew optometry was going to be the future, but what way optometry would take me, I had no idea. And being open to just listen to her, that moment that recruiter came in, that was something that I think a lot of people might have had a door shut for. You're exactly right. And just being open to that and then embracing what that challenge could look like, I think was just another way that life can take a 180.
And right after graduation, Joe, you graduated from optometry and you walked right into your first military role with a team of 40 people reporting to you. You know, tell us about that experience. How did you handle the pressure? What were some of the moments where it helped you grow in confidence? You know, I notice sometimes that especially as a young person, and maybe, even as a female, you can comment on that, coming into an area where people are older than you, even in optometry practice, people are older than you, and how do you say what you really want to say without, losing respect?
Well, I'll say part of the beauty of the military is that you're expected to say whatever you want to say or whatever's on your mind in a very professional, of course, way, and being respectful, but they encourage you to have those conversations. But I will say graduating on a Sunday and reporting to the Naval Hospital on a Monday morning maybe wasn't what my expectation was going to be going into school. And quite frankly, I mean, think about the day. I mean, it's been 20, I just celebrated my 20-year anniversary with my graduation from SUNY. So for those in the class, appreciate you and the friendship for the last 20 years. And for those that I've had the opportunity to work with along the way, this is just the beginning. But remember that day? I mean, we barely knew how to refract still at that point. We're still learning our jobs. I'm still learning now how to wear a uniform, even though I'd already been to my training. And I walk in and I have all these people. And I'll say that those moments in time learning, it really wasn't about the people around me. It wasn't about me. They helped me. They laughed at me a little bit along the way that I didn't have to shine my shoes as well as I should have, or that my ribbons weren't on perfectly straight as much as I had tried all morning to make them perfect. And everybody helped me. And that was the beauty of the team, right? And being able to be part of a team where it didn't matter. Our rank structure, of course, is important, but all of those around me supported me in my journey to become the best naval officer that I could. And at the same time, I helped them. So for those that were working for me, I helped them, whether it was clinically, whether it was personally, whether it was professionally. There was this instant connection where we all knew we had strengths and weaknesses, but the beauty was when we came together and we helped one another grow throughout the process.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think you can, sometimes it's that jump into the deep water strategy where you're going to swim. You're not going to drown. If you don't want to drown, you've got to swim, and you can learn along the way. And I think you can be fearful of jumping in, but not letting that fear prevent you from jumping in.
You couldn't hit that any better. It's okay to be afraid. In life, it's okay. You're supposed to. If you weren't afraid, you wouldn't face new challenges that come your way. But that fear, if we can transform that fear into that push that takes us to the deep end, then great. There's always going to be people around you. You might struggle a little bit along the way, but somebody's going to help you paddle to that shore. And figuring that out is kind of what the fun is. So long as you recognize that fear is normal, fear is expected, and fear should be your internal clock to say, hey, this is a challenge I can't wait to face, because when I get over that challenge, I'm going to look back and not just have pride that I did it, but help others now jump right into that deep end as well.
I love that. I love that. Embracing opportunities, the power of saying yes and taking initiative. And I know a quote from you, Jill, is just say yes and figure it out later. And your philosophy of saying yes whatever comes your way is something a lot of people struggle with. But, coming from your externship at Walter Reed to convincing the Navy to create a position for you there, you've never hesitated to take the initiative. Can you comment on that, saying yes?
I think it's important for anybody who's listening to recognize that there will be opportunities in life that are presented to you, but there will also be opportunities in life that you need to create yourself. And sometimes just being open to having those opportunities be presented in front of you and then asking for more or figuring out how that opportunity could evolve to something else, saying yes to a conversation, saying yes to meeting somebody new, saying yes to trying something you've never tried before may just be that ticket to open the door to what the next opportunity looks like. Because you'll never stay in one place for a long period of time, so long as you continue to surround yourself with great people. You help them, they help you, the opportunities will keep flowing your way, and you'll just keep growing.
I know a mutual friend of ours, Ravi Tanna. He was a previous podcast on Optometry Unleashed. And Ravi said, Trev, you told me one time to just say yes. And so he's incorporated that philosophy in going forward and just saying yes more. And I think that's something we can always all remind ourselves of, including when it comes to patient care, Jill, is just say yes and we can figure it out. I mean, I think we can basically make everything happen. And I think empowering our teams to say yes and do what you can to make that come true, is the best customer service philosophy. What do you think?
I absolutely agree. And here's why. If you always say yes, and you always know there's somebody around to help you, they might not be that staff member, that team member in your office. They might be in the office down the street. But if you have the confidence in knowing what you can do for that patient and you've exhausted what your opportunities are, but you've got resources down the road, just reach out. Say yes to their support in helping you. There's always a way to find a solution to whatever you have in front of you. And I think that probably goes back to my time in the military. We actually were never encouraged, I'll say, to use the word no or I don't know. And it's not that no was ever an answer, because sometimes the answer is no. And it's not that I didn't know, but the answer was always I'll find out. And it was okay if you didn't have the answer right away, but the goal is to make sure that every single person that worked in our eye clinic in that office, with these 40 that worked for me, we had 30 eye lanes. It was enormous. There would always be somebody to help you. There was always a way to find out. And so long as you knew you had a resource around you to support, if the first person you asked wasn't the right person, they'd find the next person. And if you live life that way, you'll never stop. There's always a way to help those patients. There's always a way to say yes to them. Even if you're not the end of the rope for them, there's always someone else that can help.
Yeah, and I've struggled with some of my team drawing a line in the sand that is never a line I would have drawn. And we're trying to empower them to say yes, trying to give them resources like even a financial metric to say, hey, listen, up to this amount, just say yes, just do it. So they have more freedom, because I don't know what's holding them back. It's certainly not me, but it's just some preconceived notion that they should say no.
Well, you know what's interesting about that, Trev, is that you say that you empowered your team. And I think there's something powerful about that word empowering. And when you have a team that functions really well together, that isn't afraid to make mistakes, that recognizes where maybe boundaries are, but that we want them to push them, but you empower them to make decisions and help others just say yes, then they're going to continue to support you, your patients, one another. And again, you've got this beautiful team of people working for what's in the best interest of everybody.
Yeah, 100%. Has there ever been a time, Jill, where you've hesitated and you've then pushed forward, or someone pushed you forward?
100%. You know, the interesting thing about social media or perception is that when things are going well for people or when they're successful, is that everything just works all the time. And that is not even close to reality. The reality is there's bumps every single day. And to your question, there's always hesitation. If we don't hesitate, then we never give ourselves the opportunity to evaluate what the best path forward is. So sure, just say yes is a great idea, but you'd be remiss if you didn't hesitate along the way and say, what am I saying yes to? And how do I make myself and whatever the situation is and those around me successful as I say yes? So 100%, I would encourage people to hesitate. Don't stay in that space for too long, but hesitate and give yourself the opportunity to evaluate where you're going and where that circuitous pathway takes you next.
I like what you said there, Jill, is that saying yes doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the ultimate solution or what it's going to evolve into. What's your comments about, in an optometric setting, creating these processes, these best practices? Are you a big believer in that?
I do agree with everything you just said, and particularly here's why, is that in optometry, right, we do call medicine practice for a reason. And none of us would ever, any healthcare provider would ever put a patient at risk. We always work what's in the best interest of our patients. But the efficiency in the way we get there, or the processes that we incorporate into practices, or how we do the best for our patients, ourselves, or our practices every day is going to evolve, because we're going to have new tools and new resources and new support around us that will help us to continue to get better. So if you know what your goal is and your outcome is, we can figure the process out along the way by using the resources around you. And then again, everybody grows. Imperfect doesn't mean bad. The goal or the process of goal setting is truly where I think the magic happens, and understanding what we're all fighting for. What's our north?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think, some of the lessons that you probably learned from the Navy, I want you to share a little bit of these stories. I'm fascinated by the story about you fitting a contact lens for a Marine who lost both arms and legs, all appendages in an IED explosion, and how you helped him see his first child's birth. Such a powerful moment. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, it's an emotional one, I'll be honest, and one that I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity. It was quite early on in my career, and I had an opportunity in our clinic to go up to our ward. So the eye clinic at the Naval Hospital was downstairs. It was an outpatient clinic, and we generally saw the outpatient cases. There was one day my boss came to me and he said, "I need you to go up to the ward," and that was an unusual situation. So right from the start, there was a little bit of a yellow flag up, kind of saying, I wonder what's going on here. But it was the height of the war, and we were receiving all of the medevacs that came home from Germany. It just wasn't top of mind because here I am, still rather new graduate from optometry school, and as I mentioned, still learning the craft of optometry while I have all these residents from ophthalmology school. We've got optometry externs, third and fourth years, even second years at the time. And I'm still trying to gather my own skills and hone those while I'm educating others around me. So needless to say, I get ready to go up to the ward, and my boss says, bring all your equipment with you. So I've got my retinoscope, my ophthalmoscope, and my portable chart, and my ruler so I can measure the size of the room and make sure I was doing everything perfect. Because at this point, perfection was still my goal. And I got up there and I saw this Marine in the bed, and I didn't know anything about his medical history. And he was laying under this sheet, and it was all the way up to his neck. And all he would say to me was, "Yes, ma'am," or "No, ma'am." That was it. And I could see he was kind of squinting a little bit, and his parents were there, and her parents were there, and she was obviously very visibly pregnant. We got through the exam through talking. And at one point, I have the chart up, and he can't see anything. He was a pretty reasonably myopic refraction. And I asked him if he was in pain, and he said, "Yes, ma'am." And I asked him if I could help him. "No, ma'am." "Can I get the nurse to help you? Do you need to scoot up on the bed?" "Yes, ma'am." Finally, fast forward a little bit, he said, "Permission to speak freely?" He said, "You can sit me up." So we start to go through the exam, and I sat up his hospital bed, and as the sheet rolled down off of his body, I realized in that instant he had no arms and he had no legs. And here I was, so consumed with figuring out how I could create a refraction in a hospital room, absolutely off target for what the needs of this patient were at the time. What he needed was somebody to support him and somebody to provide him an alternative solution to be able to live his life again. And then, as I quickly in the moment realized, one of our first lessons in optometry school was not to gasp and not to sound surprised, but to continue on with our regular exam as if everything is normal. I completed everything, and I realized that there was no chance I could put him back in a pair of glasses. And contact lenses weren't a covered benefit of the military. They're not part of our exam structure, or a benefit that they can receive. And I realized that without arms and without legs, he wouldn't be able to put a pair of glasses on his face, temples, over his ears. I mean, we have to help him figure out how to live his life differently after he nearly gave his to save us. And I went downstairs and I got him a contact lens, or a pair of contact lenses, and I put them in. And he had worn lenses before, but his wife hadn't. So I taught her how to put them in and to insert and remove them. We did essentially an INR. And we did the entire exam. We finished it. We put the lenses in. He saw beautifully. Thankfully, the entire ocular nexus was saved, so he could see beautifully. And he just started to cry. And when you think of a Marine and what they go through, it's a little overwhelming, I'll be honest. So now this entire situation is sort of coming to a head. And when I asked him if he was okay, maybe the contact lens was hurting him, because at the time, again, I was so consumed with providing the care that I thought he needed, not what he actually needed at the time. Then he looked at me again and said, "Permission to speak freely." And permission granted. And he said, "You just saved my life." And here I look at him as just his torso and his head. And I said, "You risked yours to save mine." He said, "You don't understand, Doc." He said, "If I couldn't see to watch my wife give birth to our first child that I will never be able to hold in my own arms, I just don't know how I could live this way." He said, "Putting a contact lens in my eye, you have literally changed my outlook on life. You've saved me." And at that moment, I realized I came into this situation totally off base. I came in thinking about what I was going to do, not what he needed. And I left there with a completely new perspective on the value of what an optometrist could do to change the lives of those we touch every single day. The power of a simple contact lens.
Well, that's a beautiful story. And it just goes to show you how it's really important to understand your patient, not just the words that they say, right? What is it that they really, really need? And sometimes you have to get to a place of real, true honesty. Permission to speak freely, Doc. I think that is profound, really. Wouldn't it be awesome if everybody had permission to speak freely? Jill, I think it would be an amazing world where we'd just be really honest about what our needs are and what our feelings are, and it would just be more efficient, I think, and we'd probably get to better solutions, don't you think?
100%, I agree. And I think it's actually twofold. I think if we were all had the permission to speak freely most of the time or all of the time, and then on the flip side, if we had permission to actually listen. I used to think that I listened to my patients and to my personal life in a meaningful way. But that moment with him, I realized that I need to listen differently. And so if not only we have permission to speak freely, but we give our own selves permission to listen freely and actually not hear what our patients are saying, but listen to what they're saying, then I think we get to that outcome a lot quicker and we satisfy patients in a tremendously meaningfully different way.
To that point, something that's changed the way I practice is I use a chairside scribe. And when I made that change, something happened. What happened was I was more connected to the patient. It didn't matter how long my eye exam. I actually saved some time in terms of efficiency because I wasn't typing. But as soon as I used to turn to type, I disconnected to the patient. I didn't feel them. I didn't see them. I didn't get those nonverbal cues, which I'm told is, the majority of the cues is not what they're saying, but how they're saying and what they mean behind the words. And so I thought that's interesting, taking away because I'm a man and I can only do one thing at a time, right? Or listen. And it's more important to listen and feel your patient's interaction. So I think that's a great story, the way you said it, and a reminder for all of us to really, focus, if you will, on our patient that's right in front of us.
And you know what else is that you listened more than just to what the patient was saying. By having a scribe, you're listening with your eyes. It allows you to take those verbal cues and visual cues all at the same time so that you can truly listen to patients, because listening doesn't only have to come from your ears. It can come from anywhere.
Absolutely. You can feel it. It's the old saying, they won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. So I think that's an absolute bang-on piece there. You served 8 years in the Navy, which you described as some of the best years of your life. If you could relive one military experience that taught you the most, what would it be?
Trevor, that's a great question. And I would say, I don't think there's one experience. I'd relive them all. That entire 8 years came together for me as a period of my life, or a period of time, where I learned more about myself than I did about anything else. And I learned more about how, as myself, I could help others. And so when I take the lessons learned over the course of that entire amount of time, I'd say it was literally a life lesson all brought in the blink of an eye.
And, it can't all be good. There's some things that you relive that are traumatic, that are tough, that are sad and challenging. You lose your appreciation if you're just everything's rosy. So kind of appreciating some of the hard times make you also appreciate the good times.
It's funny you say that, and I never really thought about a particular experience I had in the military as related to this. I was on a team of people, and you probably watch it in movies, where unfortunately we lose service members as part of being in the military. And there's a period of time where the military has to inform the family, the surviving family members. And I was put on that team early on in my career. And that speaks a little bit to not everything is rosy, and not every experience is positive, and not every experience helps you grow in the way maybe you anticipate to grow. But to be part of things like that, where you're with people during the most emotional or traumatic times that are hard in the moment, as you look back, you realize how much you did have the opportunity to grow as an individual and how much opportunity you had to help those around you. And it's true, not everything is rosy, not everything is perfect, but if you can learn something from every single experience, then you look back and say, for me, those 8 years, I learned and grew so much. I know that whatever it is that I face or others are facing, I can either help myself or help them through whatever that challenge is, and we'll all be better off on the other side.
Yeah, what a great lesson from the military. I think, as it pertains to being an eye doctor, being an optometrist, sometimes we're giving bad news, like this is a blinding condition or your vision's not going to improve or something's, really wrong and we need to, really treat this aggressively. So I think just being able to be empathetic, but also being courageous enough to get at, to say the truth, I think is an important learning that you need to be a great eye doctor.
Yeah, that was a lesson that had to happen quickly in the military, and I'm grateful for it. It was difficult at the time, but I have watched colleagues and friends and encouraged others to be courageous about having those conversations. It all goes back to permission to speak freely. And when you can master that skill and have those conversations, you all grow from it. Your patients will do better for it, and you'll be a better provider because of that openness and the conversations and the listening that you incorporate.
Awesome. We're going to pivot to a popular segment here on Optometry Unleashed. We call it Better One or Better Two. And since I have Dr. Jill Saxon, she knows you can say pretty close to the same. Better one. By the way, one of my associates, Jill, was saying better 7 or better 8. I'm like, oh my goodness, don't even go there because then they're going to pick 6 and 4 and 3. I'm like, just stick with better 1 or better 2 or close. Okay, here we go. You ready, Jill?
I'm ready.
Better 1 or better 2? Better 1 working on a naval ship or better 2 working at the Pentagon?
Oh.
Or close.
I'm allowed to say close?
Yeah. Because our patients often say, I can't tell.
Okay, close.
Okay, you liked them both.
Loved them both. What an awesome experience. Different groups of people, both serving our country. Awesome experience.
I love it. You got all the secrets from the Pentagon. That's so cool.
Maybe. I could never tell you, though.
Which is harder to learn? Better 1 military or better 2 corporate jargon?
Definitely better 2. More difficult to learn corporate jargon.
Yeah, 100%. I betcha.
The military does set you up for that, though. Definitely an advantage in that transition.
Perfect. Okay, better 1 early morning military drills or better 2 early morning business calls?
Ooh, that's pretty close, but I'll say military drills, a little PT in the morning, better 1. That'll get your adrenaline going and set you up for a great day.
Awesome. I know you're a fit person and you're a runner, right? You do some running still?
Running, cycling, anything to keep me active.
Are you active in the morning more or in the evening or like all the time?
Well, I'd say if you were to say better 1 or 2, I'd say yes. Definitely an all the time. I don't sleep too much. I try to maximize the time that I'm awake. So a little bit of both.
You're one energizer bunny for sure. I know you are because I am too. So all of a sudden when we get together, it's absolutely smoke. Okay. Which is more likely to keep you up at night? Number 1, work, or number 2, parenting worries?
No question, 2. The work, we can always handle. There's always an answer, there's always support, but parenting is the most important and most difficult job, raising the future and making sure that we can set them up to make the best decisions they can, 100% the hardest job in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think, in work, we have a little bit more control over the scenarios that in parenting, you kind of have to let go. You have to totally let go. And, now you're not the driver. You're just observing and maybe a casual commentator at times because, you've got growing and grown up children in a lot of ways, Jill.
100%. All right. It's our toughest job. Let's set them up to make the best decisions. So as they grow up, they put themselves in positions for them to be successful rather than us making them successful. With work, you're right. We control that. We can make ourselves successful. Surround yourself with great people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the people that count. Biggest pet peeve. Number 1, not making your bed every morning, or number 2, an inbox full of unread emails?
Oh, I'd have to say neither. Both are unclear at this point. We're at the JCC portion here where you split the red and the white dots. Both are difficult. It's really important to me. You start your day with a bed made. You've achieved the first success of the day. That's a major lesson learned by Admiral Craven, and something that is instilled in us very early. Having an inbox full, that one's difficult too for me. Important for us to get back to people. It's the people in our life that are the most valuable asset that we have. So making sure that they know that they're heard and they're seen is really important to me.
Yeah, it was secret. I had to email Jill a million times to get her to be my guest on Optometry Unleashed.
We just needed to find the perfect time.
Exactly. Well worth the wait, though, by the way.
Uh-huh.
Thanks for joining me. Okay, we're going to just transition to like industry a little bit. When you were a doctor, an optometrist, and now you're a strategist, you've mentioned that you know, many optometrists don't see industry work as an option when they first started out. What was the turning point for you, Jill, where you thought, hey, I want to be part of industry?
That's a funny question. I never really thought there was a turning point that I wanted to be part of industry, but the decision to make the leap probably just stems back from the fact that door is always open for me. As long as you just say yes and you figure the rest out along the way, when opportunities arise, if you have an open mind and an open heart to what the possibilities might be, then the opportunities really are endless. So for me, when the opportunity came my way to join industry, just like you started off this podcast, I've never been one to wait on an opportunity, just crush it, move on to the next one. I had achieved success in the military and been surrounded by, supported, and been supported by others in a meaningful way along with my country. I had private practice experience for also another 7 years, came into industry, and now have an opportunity to influence, to impact, and to shape the future of optometry. And so that moment that you ask about, it was probably the moment that I realized that this was another opportunity for me to do something that was so much bigger than me. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the industry and the future of what optometry can be. And for me to be able to be a part of shaping what that can look like and to be the voice of optometry all over the world and to help us grow and evolve and change, that is an opportunity that I could never pass up.
No, and you're so very good at that, you know, advocating for optometrists and advocating for the industry and better patient care. It's so great. Why Bausch Lomb? What made that the right place at the right time?
Well, the beauty of the opportunity that came my way with Bausch Lomb was that they were at a pivotal turning point in the industry. And as I came in and I joined through the vision care team or contact lens, they were at a moment in time where they were accelerating their innovation pipeline. And for me, I got to come in very early on as we were developing products. And I was able to then bring skill sets from my undergraduate chemistry experience to some leadership experience in the military, and then my patient care experience to help the team come together, because I was only one person on a team of many that came together to evaluate what we had today, both at Bausch Lomb and in the industry, to look at what we might anticipate for tomorrow, and then to be part of creating and shaping what that innovation pipeline could look like. To have that kind of impact is actually, as I say it even, it's overwhelming. So to come in, back to your question, to come in at a moment in time where we are just starting that innovation acceleration was a great way to be part of then the beginning of the shaping of what the future could look like. And I think, honestly, we've barely scratched the surface of what the future looks like for the organization, certainly, and for optometry.
And you have such a cool team. You know, I've met a lot of your colleagues and your teammates at Bausch Lomb, and it's really a fun atmosphere. They encourage great culture, which has always been one of my goals in our clinics, is to have a great culture. You know, speak to that a little bit about the culture of your team.
I think the most important thing for us as a team is to know that we've got a culture of support. It's not finger pointing. It's not accusatory. The culture that we have is one of together we will figure out how to tackle or solve anything that comes our way, but then to challenge one another to look towards what the future should be, making sure that even if it's not in your skill set, you're going to figure out how to support those people to solve the problem. And it's really this mutual elevation of one another that we work hard, play hard. And we have the confidence that no matter what, those around us are going to support us as an organization, us as an individual, and we all grow together. It's a wonderful thing. Mistakes happen. We look for them. And when we look for them and learn from them, we continue to grow together. And many of us have been together for at least a decade. And so we continue to evolve and grow and build on the friendships, the laughter, the challenges, and then the fun that we have as we look towards the future together.
Yeah, as a leader in a global company, you're constantly balancing short-term demands and long-term demands. And how do you stay connected with day-to-day optometrists? What do you think are some advice that you have for us to balance those short-term demands and long-term vision? I know that one of our guests said, "Hey, play the infinite game where you're just building and progressing, for the long term, not just a short-term thing." What is your thoughts on that?
I think it's important to recognize both. I'll say that in life, I don't really believe that balance is a word that I can subscribe to, because there's really no balance in life ever. Life's always throwing us these curveballs. We're always being challenged. But I also believe in my heart that time is the most valuable thing that we can give to one another, and the people are the most important. And so if you can figure out that balance, which might change on a daily basis, and not forget that our goal is ultimately the future, but that we need to focus on the present and support those around you. And remember, again, time is our most valuable asset that we can give, and the people are the most valuable thing in our lives. And you keep those connections, the power, and recognize the power of connection, then I think that balance will find its way for you. It's important not to lose sight of either one. It's like juggling a couple of glass balls that we can't drop any which one of them, but any given time, one might be higher than the other. And when things feel a little bit out of balance, balance them back up again, so you're always pushing one another towards the future.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, Jill. And I think also using your team, in the instance of contact lenses, we teach all of our team members to insert contact lenses. So if any patient wants to experience contact lenses for free, we have a complimentary, free trial, if you will, of contact lenses, so they can experience them in the office. So they just get a taste of what it would feel like to wear contact lenses when they're picking glasses, and if they so choose to continue wearing contact lenses. So I think, using the whole team and using all the strengths and talents within each team member for the greater good as a collective is a very important piece. Sometimes we try to micromanage that, or kind of keep it too close to us that we're the only ones who can insert contact lenses. I don't agree.
I don't agree either. I think what you've done is magical. It's powerful, quite frankly, Trevor, for you to be able to encourage the team that skills should overlap, that we all do better when we share a lot of those skills, and each person may recognize they're better at one thing than the other, but the power that you've created in investing the knowledge in your team only allows the team to grow together. And what an amazing thing. I mean, certainly as somebody who's passionate now about contact lenses, I think that giving every patient the opportunity to do that is another powerful thing. And you've allowed your team to be part of that. And they feel that power, and together you're transforming lives within your office.
Yeah, I want to, speaking of powerful and being a female who's mentoring leadership and building confidence and breaking barriers, you're a big advocate for mentoring women that were instrumental, and you were instrumental in launching the Women's Leadership Network at Bausch Lomb. What's a piece of advice you'd give to the young women you mentor, and why do you think it's particularly important for them to hear that today?
So I love the question, and I'll say I'm really proud to be part of that founding group of the Women's Leadership Network here at Bausch Lomb. And also we did a military network. And the beauty of those two networks, or groups of people, and bringing everybody together, was it wasn't just limited to women, and it wasn't just limited to people that were in the military. Our goal was to bring all kinds of knowledge, external knowledge, in, so that the variety in the thought leadership blossomed together. And having the opportunity to influence that and bring people from the outside in because they want to learn more, it's just testament to sort of the openness. So be open mind, open heart, and bringing folks together. And so I'd say my advice to anybody, man or woman, that I have an opportunity to mentor is, A, when you create a relationship as a mentor-mentee, it's never one-sided. So when I have somebody that asks me to be their mentor, not only do I run with open arms and say thank you for identifying me, because it gives me an opportunity to share any knowledge that I've learned over the last several years, but I learn more from them probably than I think they learn from me. And I don't know that everybody realizes that the beauty of mentorship in relationships and that connection that's built is something that is a powerful strength. It's a powerful opportunity. So typically what I would say as my advice would be join any opportunity to create a network, or take any opportunity to join a network of people, build your connections. Because if you're a constant lifelong learner and you're open to hearing from other people, their advice, their guidance, and sharing your own experiences, then the beautiful connection that happens within an organization, within an office, within a team, just only creates this power of growth, and transforms the future together.
I like how you said that, including men and women who are open-hearted and open-minded, because now the majority of ODs graduating are female, and in our teams, there's a majority of females. Like, I think in our team we've got 4 males, 2 docs, 2 techs, and the rest are females out of 70. So we've got a really big team. But I think there's an ability to mentor both ways, as you said. Both the mentor and mentee become the mentee and the mentor, and there's a lot of sharing and learning that can take place there. But also, empowering females who may be juggling a lot of various obligations, let's say work and home, and being able to go into practice and leadership opportunities within optometry and be practice owners. So that's what I'm keen for, is like, hey, you can have it all too. Let's kind of help you do it. How can maybe your male colleagues assist with that in any way, or be an advocate for your, ascension to leadership. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that the most important thing is that we surround ourselves with great people. So whether there's a male advocate or a female advocate that helps you to continue to grow and ascend to the heights that you're looking for, find the right people around you, because there will always be people that are there to support you. Another piece of advice I would say, no matter if you're male or female, is, again, back to our balance conversation, there's really no such thing. And as you continue to grow in leadership and take on different responsibilities and feel like you're trying to balance family and life and work and leadership and ownership and responsibilities and finance and all of those things that we have to concern ourselves with every day, it doesn't matter if you're a male, a female, or you're supported by men or women. That balance is something that's very difficult. And again, I think I mentioned to you before, I don't subscribe to the idea of every day or every moment is balanced, but recognizing when there's imbalance and finding your support network will help you to identify how you can adjust that balance. And as you then have a goal in mind, if you always know what that goal is, back to our process, the process by which you get there will vary by the individual. But if your goal is to grow, find those that have grown and ask them questions. Find your network. Find a group of people that are your tribe that'll help you get there, and surround yourself with diversity of thought, bringing all of these different perspectives in, and then allow you to shape your own so you can become the leader that you want to be.
I think it's a great point. That sort of being comfortable, being uncomfortable. That tension that grows sometimes when change is happening, when things are moving forward or something's gone wrong, that tension is actually a great opportunity for growth and learning for your entire team. And I think don't lose sight of that, and don't get bogged down by it, the tension that's there as you work your way through it. So I sometimes, as I've become wiser over a few years, learned to embrace that kind of tension and sort of own it, rather than just constantly trying to push through with positivity. I'm a super positive person, Jill, as you are, but I know just kind of acknowledging the hardship that's happening right now is just fine, and allows us to work through it better as a collaboration, rather than working against each other as we sort of, to be overcome by the challenges instead of working through them. So I think it's great lessons that you're giving us here, Jill. I want to talk a little bit about your family legacy, because You've got generations of optometrists. You grew up in a family full of optometrists. Your dad, two uncles, and a brother are all optometrists, which is so heartwarming for me because my daughter's going to be an optometrist. I'm pretty excited about that. What's the best piece of advice you got from them, and how did it prepare you for the unique challenges you faced in your own career?
So I think that, well, firstly, I must say you're an incredible leader, Trev. If you are able to embrace the challenges that are faced in your office and help people be comfortable with being uncomfortable, that's a lesson I learned from Chad Foster, another motivational speaker who lost his sight at the age of 21. And I would encourage you to allow me the opportunity to introduce you, because you would really be fascinated by his inspirational story. But being comfortable with being uncomfortable is the sign of a great leader. Not judging somebody for learning the process, but rather by achieving the outcome is something that leadership should subscribe to. And I give you a ton of credit, because it sounds like you have figured that out long before lots of others. And that's likely created the type of environment that you have within your practice, within your offices, with your staff, with your doctors, and now for your patients. Anyway, so the legacy, we'll go back to the legacy. I'm pretty lucky to have a father, a brother, and two uncles that are all within optometry. It's just a demonstration of how powerful the field of optometry is and can be. It's an incredible profession that I don't think sometimes we all give ourselves enough credit for. We all certainly love it, but the pathway within optometry can go any which way. I mentioned circuitous a little bit earlier, and I think that if I look even at my own family, all 5 of us have taken a different pathway, a circuitous pathway within optometry, and every single one of us has found success in the pathway that we've taken. Nobody has been in industry. Some have been in private practice, some have been in academia, some have been in any aspect of optometry you could think of, and the profession has provided each one of us this amazing opportunity to change or impact the lives of others, each in our own way. And I'll say the support or the guidance that they all have shared is probably stemming similar to a childhood lesson of just be open. Say yes to life, embrace the opportunities that are in front of you, inspire and encourage others to embrace what they have in front of them. And the power of human connection is something that optometry builds a platform of. So the constant encouragement to try something new within the field, I think, is something that all 5 of us have embraced throughout our careers.
Yeah, and I'm sure your dad, especially, and your uncles have seen such a transformation in our industry and in our profession, and the technology that's available to us today compared to when you and I started and compared to when they started. Wow, it's different. It's almost like a different profession.
100% a different profession, and going through that even with them and watching them then continue to evolve and learn has been absolutely phenomenal. In fact, my uncle, the first one of us to graduate from optometry school, was 1967, and then the last one 2015. So when you think about the span of how optometry has grown, it's unbelievable. And then for me personally now, to be part of shaping what the next 15 to 20 to 30 to 50 years might look like in optometry is powerful.
No, I love it. I love it. I love that we're associated with you, Jill, and thanks for sharing all your insights. I know you're really big on family traditions, and you've taken forward from your grandparents' holiday gatherings, and now you're the host at your home. And how do these moments help ground you when you're balancing such a demanding life? I know you've got a great family, and you're so connected to your family. Tell us a little bit about your family dynamic there.
Thank you. I think that, again, from being a young child, my grandparents instilled in me values that I'll never forget. And I try to bucket them when I think about my grandparents, who unfortunately are no longer with me, but continue to inspire me every single day to be at my best and to help others, leave my legacy behind. But things like positivity and joy and optimism, and finding that every single day and encouraging others to do the same, and spreading kindness and compassion and empathy, or curiosity to ask questions and do things different, evolve what we're doing as we bring people together, inspiring the future and the power of what our connections can bring to one another, are things that were lessons that I was taught even without them saying what those lessons were. But ultimately, what was most important for my grandparents was the power of family and the power of connection. And bringing that to today for me, I really believe that, again, time is the most valuable asset we have, and people are the most important. And if we can remember that, whether it's our personal or our professional life, and carry those ideas through everything that we do, then we continue to have wonderful days, wonderful moments, and inspire all those around us to continue to grow and live their best lives as well.
Yeah, and I think you're so great with balancing, family and work, and even the choices that you've made over your optometric career as reflected of that. I know one of our episodes from Minal Agarwal, a doctor in Ontario, we talked about burnout and mental wellness, and I think that a lot of our colleagues are struggling with that to some degree, just juggling life and optometry. And what are your thoughts on that?
I think that life in general is a challenge. Life isn't easy. Life wasn't designed to be easy, but we're here in this earth for such a small amount of time that if we can figure out our way to maximize every day and recognize that balance is really tough, it doesn't really exist, find people that have gone before you. Ask them how they've done it, and everybody's different. You'll see that that balance of life is such a challenge to find that if you embrace the imbalance instead of searching for balance all the time, then you'll recognize that when you have missteps along the way because maybe you were out of balance that day, then you can come back and have this open conversation or open dialogue, or be free to listen to whatever it is that's around you and maybe reshape, repave your pathway so that you can get back on track. Because the reality is, it may look all the time that people around you have this balance and this perfect scenario. The reality is that everybody's perfect life is imperfect along the way. And when you find those imperfections and find ways to smooth them over and find your pathway back to the balance that you hope to achieve until the next level of imbalance, then you'll find that happiness and that success. And again, continue to surround yourself with great people that will help you along the way. So as you stumble, they're there to catch you.
Yeah, and I think it's a great point. Everybody's not on safe footing. Like, everybody's a little bit unbalanced and challenged to find their proper footing. And I think just knowing that and just being able to talk about it freely and having a group around, that's why I love these conferences. I really get energized. I was talking to my friend. He's like, at these conferences, I see you get up in the morning and you're always working out, and it's because I'm energized by the other people that are in the same boat. We're in it together, and there's nothing more amazing than feeling that you're in it together, right? Like, regardless of how challenging it is. When you think back, and I know my daughter just finished her boards, her U.S. board first part 1, which is an 8-hour exam. But they were all studying together. They're studying all night, and that sort of coming through that experience together really binds you. But knowing that there's others in the same situation, it really helps you.
Yes, and if you recognize that those challenges are normal and expected, and you can solve them together, I think there's magic. I remember, I'm sure you do too, first year taking those boards. It's not an easy task. The challenges that your daughter faces today are certainly far more difficult than what we faced. The volume of what they need to learn as optometrists, as a direct result of you and I pushing the limits for what optometry is going to be, gives them a much more difficult scenario than what we had, but they embrace those challenges. And when you do that together, I think the opportunity is you search for those. You search for those challenges, and if you find success in achieving those together, you've begun to build your tribe of folks that will support you as you continue to build your leadership, your career, your influence, and who you're going to be. Which, by the way, I'd love to know what you're most excited about for your daughter as she enters optometry, having come from a family full of optometrists and now knowing that you also have now a family of optometry. What does the future look like for her?
I think it's just so exciting, Jill. I think scope expansion is really exciting. Lasers, being able to do more treatments, being able to look on the wellness side upstream. So could we prevent blindness? Could we identify markers for macular degeneration, let's say, or early cellular structural changes to prevent the functional loss of blindness in an early stage so we could all live to 100 and still see? Could my daughter be part of that? Could you harness AI to be a physician assistant to help you customize the solution, to brief you on every patient's, tendencies or needs, their wants before they come into the exam room? Could you make optometry just an amazing place to come to, like a cafe or like your favorite restaurant, a place that you look forward to seeing what's new and what's exciting and what's experiential? Could we make every eye exam the most amazing part of your year with any of your healthcare practitioners? That's what I see the future for my daughter and optometry to be. I'm super jacked about optometry still. This is year 30 for me, Jill, and I'm like, dang, I wish I had 30 more years. I got to keep fit, and so I can still see what the heck is going to go happen in the future, because I think it's really early in that stage. Just like your dad and your uncles would say, wow, what a profound change. And we're going to say 30 years from now, if I'm still here, we're going to say, wow, what an amazing evolution optometry's been. So for my daughter to be part of that, and for me to have, 5 cold start practices and just see them grow over time into a big team, and for her to hopefully come and join our team is super exciting for me.
I love that you've not only pushed yourself, but you've inspired yourself to inspire her, to push the limits in the future of what optometry is going to be. I think that with folks like you, and I can't wait to meet her and have the opportunity to harness her power and her energy, but folks like us that can quite literally have the excitement and the passion and the dream of continuing to push the limits of optometry and push the limits of what we can do and advance the science for the future of what our patient care can look like. It's just, again, we've barely scratched the surface of what this is going to hold, and I can't wait for your daughter as much as you can.
I'm going to bring Naya when she graduates. Her and I are going to find you at a conference, and we're going to have a drink and a chat, and or maybe go to a hockey game and really get to know each other. So
I can hardly wait.
Hey, Jill, what are your thoughts? As we wind up Optometry Unleashed, about legacy, and what do you hope to leave behind? What can you leave our listeners with a final thought?
Well, firstly, Trev, I just want to thank you for allowing me to be a guest on your show. I feel like I've been waiting for this day since we met in November of 2023 in Toronto at the Dry Eye Summit, and I'm thrilled that I had that opportunity because it's led to now. And I would say that if I could leave all the listeners with one thing, I would say I want to inspire each and every one of you to approach life with an open heart, with a curious mind, a constant willingness to help, and an excitement for what's possible in the future. Then I know that's a legacy that I've left a positive impact in the world of optometry and for the future.
Well, definitely, Jill. If we can do 80% of as good as you, that's 100% of awesome. So thanks so much, Jill, for joining us. And
actually, I have one thing I have to say to you.
Yeah, please.
I don't know how this will come out or when the moment of opportunity is, but I'll say that from the first time I met you, the power of your energy was harnessed by the moment in time I saw you man on the street interviewing us at different aspects of the Dry Eye Summit in Toronto. I knew at that moment in time that not only did the passion that I have for the future of optometry or what optometry would be, I had found my match. And I knew that together, when we bring minds together that are looking towards what the future is going to look like for optometry, that we've hit gold here, and I can only imagine what we're going to be able to do together.
Well, thanks, Jill. That's very kind. I told our Optometry Unleashed staff, I said, hey, listen, you got to get Jill Saxon. She has the same energy I do. I mean, and that's saying something. I mean, that is hard to find, so we've got to have Jill. And so, I can check that off my bucket list. Jill Saxon has been my guest on Optometry Unleashed. I want to thank you for your time. I know you're a super busy doctor, busy person, and I really appreciate you taking the time to share your wisdom. I know this is just the beginning of what we hear from Dr. Jill Saxon. Thank you for adopting Canada as a friend of Canadians, our own country, by the way, our own country. But we know that you're always welcome as a honorary Canadian, Jill, and thanks for joining us on Optometry Unleashed.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you.
Thanks for our listeners. If you have any suggestions for guests, any questions, we'll have some show notes. As always, this is Trevor Miranda. We'll see you soon.